What up, everybody? What up, everybody? What up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of AC Reviews the World. I'm AC the Engineer, and hey, it's time to get right into it. This is episode 14, so let's give it applause. Episode 14. All right, it's Friday, July 11th, 6 a.m. in the morning. See, now early risers, I know. If y'all like me, y'all up now, getting ready for work. Today I work from the house, so hey, I'm gonna do this live stream before I start work. But hey, let's get right into it. We got a lot of things to cover today, a lot of things to go over. More updates to the Texas flood stuff, the tragic scenes from that. We also got some. We're gonna talk about the tunnel collapse over in LA. Then you got some crazy stuff like kidnapping that's been happening. 2 different scenes of people getting kidnapped and then also sexually assaulted. There's some crazy people out there. It's crazy. But we got a lot of things to go over today, break down, and we're gonna also look at some of Anton Daniels stuff. There's some things that we're gonna look at from him. Just some questions, just some topics that he was talking about that I thought it'd be feel good to talk about and just discuss what I was thinking about it. But hey, we're gonna get all into that. But hey, it's a good day, good morning. So hey, morning people, good morning. If you're not up yet, might as well it's time to get up. But let's jump right into it. The first thing we're going to get into today is the updates to the flood. So the updates to the flood, like we talked about last time, Texas flooded, rose 26 feet in 45 minutes, and then the death count is up to 120. So let's jump right over into that and get the updates for today.
Because as the sun rises over central Texas today, residents are still grieving the loss of at least 120 people across 6 counties after storms surged through the region nearly 1 week ago. A desperate search by air, water, land, and even horseback continues at this hour, as officials say more than 170 people are still missing. That number includes 5.
That's crazy. 170 people are still missing. They're trying to find. That is absolutely wild.
Campers and 1 counselor from the beloved Camp Mystic, where more heartbreaking stories of loss are revealed with each passing day. They include 8-year-old camper Mary Kate Jacoby. Her family says she entered the gates of heaven, adding she was tiny but mighty and full of love. Today, questions continue about whether more could have been done to warn residents ahead of those catastrophic floods. At a press conference yesterday, local officials defended their response and said those questions about how they handled it will be answered in time.
I believe those questions need to be answered to the family of the missed loved ones, to the public. We're not running, we're not going to hide from everything. That's going to be checked into at a later time. I wish I could tell you that time.
Folks, I don't know how many lives our KPD team saved in an hour in Kerrville, but I know that this tragedy, as horrific as it is, could have been so much worse.
Yeah, all right. Yes, he is correct. It could have been it could have been so much worse. But the questions they are asking are reasonable. Could there have been more to be done? Oh, good morning, Ashley. But could there have been more to have been done? It's a very tragic situation, but those are questions that have to be answered. Let's keep going into it.
This comes as new reporting from NBC News revealed that the former Kerr County commissioner described the county's flood warning system as antiquated all the way back in 2016, and that Kerr County officials then discussed warning systems more than 24 times since then. NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson has the latest for us from the ground in Kerrville. Priscilla?
Yeah, right now the search for the missing is continuing to grow more urgent and more desperate with each passing day. We know that officials have said that they have some very heavy machinery out here as they are trying to work their way through this very large debris. You have large trees that are down. You have vehicles that were pulled in to the river, also pieces of homes, according to officials. And so they are urging the volunteers who are out here who want to help the people who are searching to continue to do so, but not in the areas where they see that heavy machinery, because they are trying to handle these areas obviously very delicately in case they're recovering remains, or perhaps there is the miracle that they will find someone still who is alive. But I will tell you, officials have said that they have not pulled anyone out alive since Friday. Meanwhile, you also have the governor overnight releasing his priorities for the special session, which is set to begin later this month. And that, of course, at the top of that list are all of these issues around flooding. That includes flood warning systems, flood emergency communication, relief funding for this hill country area and these floods, and also natural disaster preparation and recovery. And officials are continuing to be pressed about this response and whether or not they acted appropriately in the hours as these floodwaters were coming in. But officials still not answering specifically many of these questions, only saying that right now their focus remains on so many of those people who are still missing.
NBC's Priscilla Thompson, thank you for your updates. And elsewhere in the Southwest, at least 3 people have died after flash floods swept through the mountain village of Ruidoso, New Mexico. Video shows broken trees destroyed.
So we also have to talk about the flash flooding that happened in New Mexico. So we can't forget that Texas is not the only one who was affected by this crazy weather and natural disaster. But I said this last time. Mother Nature is very scary. Very scary, and it has to be respected. Let's keep going into this.
Destroyed homes and muddy debris as rescue crews work to clean the wreckage. Officials say a 4-year-old girl, a 7-year-old boy, and a man aged 40 to 50 were the victims of yesterday's flood.
Do y'all see that? The whole home is flying away.
4 people in
Jesus, like a boat.
The community there remain missing. Ruidoso, though, is no stranger to natural disasters. Wildfires raged through the area last year, leaving burn scar in the hillsides and canyons that was then unable to absorb much of Tuesday's rainfall. A lot of weather happening around the country that we're tracking. White House reporter for the Wall Street Journal, Ken Thomas, is joining us now. And it's at the nexus of politics and those natural disasters that we should start this morning, because the president is set to...
Now that is absolutely wild. Let me back that up just a tad bit, because look, what would you do in this situation?
A man aged 40 to...
What would you do? I don't know if anything I could think to do. This, except for grab my loved ones and pray. That's all I can think to do.
50 were the victims of yesterday's flood. 4 people in the community there remain missing. Ruidoso, though, is...
All right, but we're going to dive more into the flash floods in New Mexico a little later, but there's some things that people are talking about for the Texas flash flood that just a bunch of questions about who should be held responsible. And so we're going to get over into that. Let's jump right over into that.
I want to bring into the conversation right now a reporter at the Texas Tribune, Colleen de Guzman. She joins me. Colleen, thanks for being with us here. I know you've been all over this story, and I want to read from a piece, the first paragraph of which you wrote yesterday. You said this in your reporting: Kerrville's mayor said he was unaware of any help sent by the state to his community ahead of the flood, a day after Governor Greg Abbott said the state had, quote, assets, resources, and personnel in place 2 days before that flood tore through the hill country, now claiming 120 lives at least here. So are state and local officials on the same page about assets and resources or not, Colleen?
What I do know is that on Tuesday, Governor Greg Abbott held a press conference in which he shared that he had on July 2nd sent assets, resources, and personnel ahead of this storm, ahead of this flood. And according to the Texas Division of Emergency Service Management, we knew that they had helicopters ready, boats ready, personnel ready, but we just don't know exactly where they were. We're not certain that they were in Kerrville County or in the hill country. We know some were in San Antonio, which is just south.
The devastation left by the flood is wild. Jesus.
And so those were ready on July 2nd, but Kerrville mayor on Wednesday, the day after Governor Greg Abbott's press conference, said that he never saw those resources.
Yeah, we're just watching some of the video of the roaring floodwaters here. You know, throughout the last week, Colleen, you know, amid the grief, answers...
You see, the road is destroyed. Oh my God.
Are being demanded about, you know, how something like this could have happened, what may have led to mitigating factors to make it not as deadly, or at least to prevent it out time here. And you've heard from a lot of officials who are essentially saying, yeah, those questions are extremely important, but right now it's time for these communities to grieve. You're a reporter, you cover this area. Would you agree, though, that now is the time to start asking these questions?
Yes, these are the times to ask these questions. And I think these questions were being asked long before this flood happened. I mean, this area is called Flash Flood Alley. And so a lot of these questions are long overdue.
She said the place is called Flash Flood Alley? Jesus. There's nothing I can say about that. That is crazy. Flash Flood Alley. Now, the first thing, not to get off rail, but the first thing that I thought about was Diagon Alley from Harry Potter, which is a horrible place. But Jesus, let's keep going.
Yeah, Colleen, I want to ask this. What the mayor of Kerrville said been accurate as far as, say, the warning systems in place, the aid that was deployed ahead of the flooding? There's a lot of questions about these warning systems, whether or not they were there. If they were there, you know, were they deployed at a fast pace or not? Was there some type of here? What do you know about that? Where is your reporting taking you on that question, the warning system question?
So my colleague, Emily Foxhill, is the one who is covering mostly about the emergency response and the National Weather Service. And her reporting shows that the National Weather Service sent a couple alerts that night. So the first one coming at 1:14 a.m. On July 4th. And you can imagine a lot of people are sleeping at that time. I mean, this is Independence Day. This is not on their phones. And this is a time when people are sleeping. And the next one after that it came at around 4:30 a.m. But by that time, for some, it was a little too late to evacuate. And
now let's talk about that. First alert came in at 1. Now they're gonna talk about it later, but the first alert was just basically just saying be prepared that things could happen. At 1 a.m., now I'm in my bed by, let's say, 10 o'clock. 10, latest is 11. That's rare, though. 11 is very rare. At 1 a.m., would I have heard the alert? I sleep with my phone turned up, just because if anything happens, somebody can call me. But it's always the question of, will you wake up in the time you need to? Now, you know, they got those alerts, that the weather service alerts that blare. Hopefully, I would hope that would wake me up, but you can never be sure. Jesus.
That was the first warning that was really rare. That one was the one that said to evacuate. The one at 1:14 a.m., that was the warning that was very much saying this could happen, get ready. And it was the 4 a.m. one that said that this was a very rare and an emergency and to leave their homes.
So, Colleen, what's going to happen when lawmakers return to Austin at the state capitol there, and they have to grapple with some of these questions? Is that on the docket, on the agenda here, about the response, getting resources to where they need to be in a timely manner, et cetera?
Yes, so Governor Greg Abbott has scheduled a special session, and he actually scheduled this long before this flood happened, but now this flood is now a top priority for the next 30 days, starting on the 21st, when state lawmakers do convene in Austin. And at the top of his list are talking about flood warning systems, emergency communications, national disaster preparation, and relief funding. So they will be discussing what kind of solutions are coming up.
You know, Kelly, I'm not sure if you've spoken with some of these survivors or even victims' family members about the warning systems in particular, but to your point, you indicated that this part of Texas is known for these flash floods, and presumably people looking on the outside in would assume that any emergency plan would be put in place, that it would be easy to implement, so to speak, because of the threat, because it is so constant. Are you hearing that from people down on the ground about why this was missed?
People are asking why there weren't sirens put in place. And my colleague Emily is actually working on.
Now, I mentioned that. I mentioned that in the last episode. Sirens. I would think that they would need sirens out there everywhere. I don't care how loud they need to be. I don't care if it needs to bust some eardrums. You have to have some sirens out there blaring. But that's mainly the only thing I think can do. I don't know if they could have warned people earlier. I don't know, but at the end of the day, we lost over, I think it's 120 people. The count is 120 people that have died, and 170 people are missing. So, end of the day, we just need to keep all the families in our prayers. People in Texas in our prayers. And just, if you need to seek help, go seek help. But let's keep going and finish up this video.
On understanding more about the sirens conversation and if they would even help. Because a lot of people come to this area, like you said, it is known as a flash flood alley, but it's also known for its beautiful rolling hills and, greenery. And this is why people went during Independence Day to unplug and be with their family and not be on their phones and not look at alerts or the news. And so discussions about sirens right now, would they have helped? I mean, these sirens, if they even alarmed and were in place the night of a thunderstorm, would people even have heard them? And there are also questions.
That is a great question.
Questions of, do people even have cell service at this time if there were more notifications sent to people's phones? So we have more questions than answers right now.
Yeah, I think that's such an interesting point. That was somewhat brought up.
Yeah, yes, let's Ashley, yes, exactly right. And don't go to the attic without an axe, because if you got to bust through the attic, bust through the roof to stay on the ceiling, but this is a whole tragic situation.
In some of these press conferences we have been listening to and airing live for our viewers about, warnings you get on your phone. Yes, to your point, this was smack dab in the middle of the night. People were sleeping. Those little girls in their cabins at Camp Mystic, they were sleeping. But when you get alerts on your phone, do you hear them? If you hear them, do you heed them? And those are all of those questions, kind of the human psychology of it, which is just so tragic here. Colleen, lastly, where does your reporting take you next?
We're going to be looking at what happens this next special session. We're going to see where these conversations go, if there's even going to be teeth to these conversations of solutions. We know this will not be the last storm. I live in Houston, and we're always getting ready for hurricane season. Hurricane Beryl's anniversary was actually a couple days ago. And so we've been sitting and asking what has changed since we've had these natural disasters. We know these happen, and so it's still looking into what our legislators going to do to prepare for the next one.
You mentioned Hurricane Beryl, that was last season. A lot of this, at least the response of it, is being compared to Hurricane Harvey. Do you think that's an apt comparison? I remember that back in 2017. From what I understand, from what I've read, the number of fatalities in this natural disaster event has now surpassed that of Hurricane Harvey. Is that a fair comparison now, knowing that?
What I know is that Hurricane Harvey was this massive hurricane that just sat over the Houston area for days, and it created a flood. But I think the big difference is...
For days? For days, that's crazy.
That, what happened last weekend was very rapid, violent moving water. And so that's why people are being found miles away from where they were. Some bodies are being found, dozens of miles from where they live. So I think that's a big key difference in talking about the difference between Hurricane Harvey and what happened this July 4th.
All right, Colleen Dick.
Now that is absolutely insane. Like I said, we need to keep Texas, everyone in our prayers, because it's a whole tragic situation all around. But I do want to say, it's tragic, but I've seen some people politicize, and I don't want to show any videos of people, but some people are saying that Texas deserved this, that they deserved what's happening to them. And they bring up Trump and all the Democrats versus Republicans, but how can you say that little children deserved to be swept away in this? Does anyone deserve? It doesn't matter who you are, who you voted for. At the end of the day, we're all humans. We're all people. We all live in America. We all live on the world. There's no reason we should be saying that someone deserves to go through a natural disaster. It's sickening, very sickening. But those are the updates that I've found so far for the Texas flooding. Like I said, always, I'm gonna keep everyone updated on what I'm seeing so we can talk about it, because we have to review the world together, like I always say. But we're gonna pivot some now. We're gonna pivot over into the LA that collapsed in LA. But let's jump over into that and hear about what's happening with that stuff.
Officials are breathing a sigh of relief after more than 30 construction workers in an industrial tunnel in Los Angeles reached safety after it partially collapsed. The cave-in occurred between the tunnel boring machine 5 miles from the entrance and the construction workers who were working 6 miles in. The workers, who were about 400 feet underground, scrambled over loose soil more than 12 feet high to reach the tunnel boring machine and then were transported back to the opening. This aerial footage is showing workers being brought out of the tunnel in a yellow cage hoisted up by a crane. So again, that is some of that footage there. And we are awaiting more updates on this story, but I did want to share with you this press conference that we have not shown you yet here on Live Now from Fox, of officials in Los Angeles speaking on this.
LAFD resources responded to 1701 North Figueroa Avenue to a confined space. We were very lucky this time. We had over 100 resources that were here, over 100 firefighters and paramedics here to respond to this incident. Use our capabilities. We also even prepared, and hats off to the incident commanders that were on scene, that we ordered enough resources. Also, we had air resources prepared for any air ambulance rescues. It was determined that a structure failure of the tunnel lining failed approximately 5 to 6 miles in. Trapping that we thought 27 into
5 to 6 miles in. That is tunnel, any kind of tunnel mines. They are very, so it's not a job that I would want to do. No, it's not a job I would want to do. Just because of how dangerous. Yeah, you've heard stories of mines collapsing or tunnels collapsing, and 5 miles into the tunnel. Now, that is absolutely crazy. A structural problem. Jesus Christ. The main thing with tunnels is making sure that the structure can handle the load of the earth. So depending on how deep it is, the deeper you go, the more weight that the tunnel has to support. Depending on what type of soil, if it's soil, then the soil, the main thing with soil is, yes, the weight. But if you carving through rock, that's totally different, because you can, unless it's fractures in the rocks. And I'm getting down into some of the engineering work that I do, but that is actually crazy. I think I saw it said 3 people have died from this. It's work that has to be done, but there are brave men and women who can do this work. And it's tragic when anything like this happens. Let's keep going into the video.
Individuals, 4 actually went in to rescue, to assist. So a total of 31, and a total of 31 were evaluated afterwards. And that is still continuing on as we speak. The workers had to climb through debris. They had to make themselves out through, and then rescuers actually came to them to assist them out. So what we're doing now, as far as the LAFD is concerned, and with this work site, is we're going to continue our relationship with the workers that are here to make sure that it's a safe site, and the LAFD will be here at all times. So at this time, I'd like to introduce the Congresswoman.
Thank you. I want to start by thanking the LA Fire Department and the workers for their courageous work, the men and the women who, when the call came in, did not hesitate, came right out, did the work of making sure that we did everything they could to rescue the workers.
Now let me say this. This is what gets me when people say taking funding away from either the police or any kind of emergency services in general. When something happens, I want to be able to call the police, the firefighters, and just any kind of emergency services so that they can help. I don't understand. I just don't understand why people... Emergency services do such great work. And yes, there are some bad people, of course, but there's bad people in any kind of profession. But the work that they do should be celebrated. They help the people out of sometimes sacrificing their life to help people, which just let's pray for the family. I think it's 3 people who have died working in this tunnel, and just any emergency services, especially if anyone was hurt. Let's pray for them. It's a tragic situation.
The Clearwater project is more than a construction effort. It's a critical investment in our region's future. In 2022, the Environmental Protection Agency invested $441 million in this project to help modernize our wastewater infrastructure. And this is going to protect public health. It's going to safeguard our environment and ensure cleaner water. Must never forget that these large infrastructure projects require workers that take. And tonight it was great to be able to talk to a few of those workers to describe their ordeal, to describe what they went through, that are shooken up. But as was said, it was a lucky night, and it was one where they're safe, and that's what we're focused on.
I can't imagine how much how traumatized you would be. Don't know if you're going to see the light of day because you're 6 miles into a tunnel and it collapses. How would you feel? How would you cope? Would you give up? Would you try to dig yourself out? No one will truly know how you react until you're in that situation. I feel like I can speak for most people. I don't never want to be in that situation.
Focused on, and I'm proud of the joint effort here with federal, local government, our mayor, our supervisor, who have been doing an incredible job in leading this city and, coming out for our workers. So let's not just be thankful tonight, but recommit ourselves to making sure that we have conditions that are safe for our workers at all times. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to... my name is Nanette Barragan, Barragan, Congress member for this district, California's 44th district. And now I get the honor of introducing the leader of our great city, my former colleague, now the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman, and then also I want to thank our interim fire chief. What started out as a very frightening evening I know when we raced down here, I was so concerned that we were going to find tragedy. Instead, what we found was victory. All of the men that were in that tunnel rescued up, safe.
Okay, so I misspoke. That's my apologies. I thought I saw it somewhere. It said that 3 people passed away. But hey, that's good that no one has died from this tragedy.
Opportunity to speak with them. We had an opportunity to make sure that they were able to reach their family members. Their family members knew they were safe. There were many anxious family members who were here waiting to make sure that their relatives were okay. We spoke with the paramedics. Medics examined the men as they came up. And I just have to tell you that we're all blessed today in Los Angeles. No one injured, everyone's safe. And I am feeling very, very good that this is a great outcome in what started as a very scary evening. And so with that, I want to introduce our supervisor for the area and my former colleague, Janice Hahn. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bass, and it's great to be here tonight with you, Mayor, with the Congresswoman, with the council member, Tim McCosker. I feel the same. When we first got the call, I came over here, sometimes you think the worst, but we are so lucky tonight and we are so blessed tonight that all of the men came up, they came out, they're alive, and they're reasonably well. So besides being an...
Now, I feel like we've gotten all what we've needed to hear from that. But that is absolutely wild. Like I said before, I can't imagine being 6 miles in a tunnel and it collapsed. Luckily, everyone was able to make it out. That's the main thing. Everybody was able to make it out. I want to hear about what happened. What happened to the structure that made it collapse? But now we're going to pivot to some heavy stuff. So this next thing, that's sickening. That's all I can say about this. It's sickening. An 11-year-old girl was sexually assaulted. Yes. At a park by an 18-year-old teen. He needs to be in jail and be in the ground. That's all I mean. But let's jump right over into that. This is heavy stuff, and it's tragic. Little girls, people are sick. But let's jump right into that.
Also at 5, attacked at the park. A suspect sitting in jail tonight after...
Let's look at him. Look at this face of this nasty man. Antoine Johnson. Sick. Let's keep going.
Deputies say he lured a young girl into a bathroom and raped her. That suspect running off, but he wouldn't get very far. Good evening, I'm Lauren Pastrana.
And I'm Elliot Rodriguez. Others who were there at the time chased him down and held him until the deputies arrived. CBS News Miami's Trish Christakis is live for us at the scene with the very latest. Trish?
Elliot, Lauren, absolutely disturbing details today. Police say an 18-year-old man raped an 11-year-old little girl at the park behind me. We're at Gwen Cherry Park in Miami. Now, I spoke to a former classmate of that man accused, and he's absolutely disgusted by what happened. Take a look. Police say this man, Antoine Johnson, is being charged with sexual battery on a minor, kidnapping.
Why does he look slow? I don't want to, I'm not trying to be. He looks... No shame to anyone who's ever been in special ed, but he looks like he was in special ed. It's crazy.
And false imprisonment of a child under the age 13. A man who wanted to remain anonymous tells CBS News Miami he went to school with him in 9th grade, and their whole community is disgusted by the allegations.
So you wouldn't think, somebody would do something like that, but it's disgusting.
According to the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office, Johnson asked the 11-year-old girl to grab him toilet paper from the women's bathroom. He then followed her in, put her in a stall, and raped her twice. Old classmates of Johnson says something was always off about him.
They saying the same thing I'm saying. They hate to breathe the same air as him. They hated they went to the same school, spoke. They hate it. It's disgusting.
The arrest form says the 11-year-old victim pleaded with Johnson to let her go, but he did not. A witness then came into the bathroom and ran out yelling for help, that someone was being raped. People at the park ran after Johnson and held him until police arrived. Johnson was arrested and taken to jail.
I have read the arrest.
He looks a little too intact. If the people I know would have caught him, that just looks crazy.
Arrest form, and it provides probable cause for.
Charges, Judge.
You're waiving the charges.
In bond court today, Johnson was issued a no contact order with the victim and no bond. Those in the community are shaken up and wanting more security at parks.
My siblings go here, so I really we hope we better the security around here, monitoring the youth and stuff like that, because my siblings go here, and if I find out something like that happened to my siblings, I don't know. It's hard to think about, to be honest.
Now, I did reach out to Miami-Dade Parks as well as Johnson's lawyer and have yet to hear back from either of them. We'll continue following this case and give you the latest updates right here on CBS News Miami. For
now, that is disgusting. That's Jesus Christ. 11 years old? Like, any kind of sexual assault is a disgusting act. But 11 years old? We need to, main thing from this, we need to, if you have kids, daughters, son, you can't, not just daughters, sons. If you have little sons or just your kids in general, you have to make sure you keep an eye on them. You would think that she would be safe at a park, but there's sick people in this world, very sick people in this world. And it just makes you sad that these people are even considered human. He needs to be in jail, rot in jail. Maybe even jail is too good. That is crazy. He kidnapped a little girl, basically kidnapped her, sexually assaulted her, then tried to run away. But luckily, we have good people in this world who reacted immediately and captured him, held him down to police. Now, I don't know if they got some shots in, but you best believe if I was out there, there's no way. There is no absolutely way. That is absolutely insane. This girl's gonna need some. The little girl will need some therapy. The little girl will need some therapy. She's gonna need her family around. Let's pray for the family. Let's pray for the little girl. That's all I can say. It's a tragic event. I don't wish this on anyone. I still don't understand how people can wish terrible things to happen on people. That just sounds crazy to me, but it's an awful thing. But still more that we have to talk about. Someone captured a kidnapping of a kid on their cell phone. You can see an attempted kidnapping. So we're going to jump right over into that. This is what's happening with the world nowadays? Or has this always been the world that we live in, but we have more social media and information to see these types of things? That's what me and my friends talk about constantly. Is more terrible things happening in the world, or are we just able to see them? And it's always been like this. But let's jump right into this. We have this. It's heavy things we have to talk about, but we have to talk about them.
Happy Tuesdays with Julie. Let's bring her in. Hey, Julie.
It is a happy Tuesday with Julie.
Always a happy Tuesdays with you. First up, Coney Island, Brooklyn. A little boy got snatched right off the sidewalk. Watch.
Where's the parents?
What the fuck? Oh! Nah, he's wildin'.
Luckily, the parents didn't freeze. That man dropped the boy, got chased into an intersection.
What is wrong with people? Do you see how he dropped him? Let's back that up a tad bit.
Boy got snatched right off the sidewalk. Watch.
What the fuck? Oh my God! Nah, he's wildin'.
Luckily, the parents didn't freeze. That man dropped the boy, got chased into an intersection, and now he's in custody.
Good.
And the kid...
Amazing. There is no way you can let him get away. He tried to snatch a kid in front of everyone.
Kid's safe at home. You hear about kidnapping all the time. You never see it happen in real time.
No, and in front of the parents. The mother and father both actually ran down the guy, and then within 4 minutes, the cops were there. But they actually had to tackle this guy and hold him down until the cops showed up. Fortunately, the cops were there within 4 minutes. But here's the example of why New York City is so screwed up, because there are criminals that are brazen enough to actually attempt to kidnap a child in front of clearly a very busy street with spectators and witnesses in front of the parents.
What was he wearing?
He tried to kidnap a kid in front of everyone, assuming that he could get away. That's the only way he did this. The only reason he did this is because he assumed that no one would try to stop him. No one.
It's a fez. Is that what you call that hat?
I don't know. I would call it dreads. I think those were dreads.
I think that was a fez.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure. That was not dreads.
I didn't know you were so hip.
Well, I'm just cultured.
Yeah.
Next up,
Man
Philly.
on the streets.
Now, that is crazy, man. That is crazy. Oh, now, this is actually wild. So we're going to jump. It's not on the schedule to talk about, but we are going to look at this. I seen this happen a few days ago. A Philly cookout turned into a shooting. Let's jump
A
into that.
cookout turns into a shootout. Warning, this video is a little graphic.
Let's back that up a tad bit.
Little graphic.
Do you see the fear in their eyes? There are teenagers there. There are young women there. It's absolutely crazy.
3 people died, 9 others hurt. Like a regular old barbecue.
Yeah, 12 people were shot, and the youngest victim, 15 years old, injured. A 19-year-old is in critical condition. This is also happening on a residential neighborhood where there are kids and there are families, and they don't care. They don't care.
He
and
looks like he's closing his eyes and aiming the gun nowhere.
Anywhere. So anybody could be walking down that street, but this is because I guarantee you these guys have rap sheets. I guarantee you this isn't the first time they've shot a gun at somebody, and I guarantee this isn't the first time that they've been.
Come on, now we can see that. This is crazy, man. I say this all the time. It's a crazy world we live in. Jesus.
And I guarantee Larry Krasner and Uncle Larry will probably let him off if they do.
Of course.
And finally, we're about to go down under an arson.
That is, I don't even need that. Arson set his pants. People are absolutely wild. Get the focus right. People are absolutely wild, but. The main thing we was talking about with this video was the kidnapping. It's...
What the fuck? Oh my God! Nah, he's wildin'.
Same thing I said with the last video. You have to watch your children. If they were not watching, he could have got away. You don't like to think about it, but yes, he probably could have got away. That's why he was so bolden to do it. That's why he didn't care who saw it. And it's tragic to think about what would happen if he would have got away. What would have happened to the child? People who go after kids are despicable, deserve to be under the jail. There's no other way to say it. No other way to say it. Not absolutely wild. Seems like every day I'm looking at more things that are popping up on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram that'll make you lose faith in humanity sometimes. There are so many tragic things that happen. But I choose to believe that it's not the majority of people. Of course, it's not the majority of people who do these crazy, terrible things. And whoever does needs to be caught. We need to call the police immediately. And they need to be punished. Simple as that. Need to be punished. Now we're going to pivot a little bit, trying to get a little more lighthearted, but we still got a lot of things to talk about that are tragic. Now we're going to talk about just to watch Jesus. Do I want to talk? No, you know what? Things. And this next thing is even wilder. So a teen has been charged with killing her mother and her stepfather. And if I saw it right, her sister found the bodies. Yes, her sister found the bodies. But let's get right into this.
The story we first brought you as breaking news on Good Day Atlanta this morning. Fox 5's Kevin Stewart joins us live at the Carroll County Jail. And Kevin, we understand the daughter of one of the victims has been charged with the killings.
Yeah, that is the big shocker. The teen daughter is now in custody, charged with 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault. She is here at the county jail being held without bond.
In the Taj community just outside of Carrollton, they said this type of violence never happens here. But then it did. And detectives now say it wasn't a stranger, but the female victim's 17-year-old daughter, Sarah Grace Patrick, now accused of shooting her mother, Christian Brock, and stepfather, James Brock.
We don't know what goes through the mind of a child who wants to harm their parents.
In fact, investigators confirmed Patrick is the one who called 911 after her little sister, only 5 years old at the time, found their parent shot to death back on February 20th. Nearly 5 months later, deputies tell reporters a trail of evidence led the case to the 17-year-old.
She's 17. She's kind of been out on her own. She's lived with different family members and kind of moved all over the place.
This woman, Jody, did not want her face shown, is a neighbor and friend of the family, including the suspect.
I hugged her and I told her that I was so sorry.
She feels betrayed.
I kept watching the funeral over and over when she was up there talking.
Now, I don't know what was going through her mind. Now, I hate to say it, the first thing that came to my mind, which I don't know. The only thing I could think about is there's only 2 options. Either something's
on the teen suspect, but Jody claims the mother shared what was going on inside this home.
All she said was Sarah Grace was bucking her because she didn't want to be there. She wanted to live with her daddy.
Investigators are, for now, happy to have an arrest.
That's a crazy reason to kill your mom and stepdad now. I don't know if that's the reason, but if it is, killing your mom and stepdad over because you want to live with the father, Jesus, I don't want to make excuses for her, but maybe her children over you, I don't know. Jesus, that's just crazy. God dang, let's keep going.
Arrest as the justice system tries to make sense of this.
I believe, according to his family, he had a lot of heart trouble. He'd had numerous heart surgeries. I believe he may have been waiting on a heart transplant at some point. And to have his life cut short, that's a big takeaway from this story, and that a mother and a stepfather will never be able to raise their children.
And investigators say they continue to chase some chatter on social media, and they're not ruling out more arrests. Reporting live from Carroll County, Kevin Stewart, Fox 5 News.
Just so shocking. Kevin, thanks.
Now, we'll get into that a little bit later, but that is wild. Where did she get the gun? Because they were shot. There's a lot of questions about this. Where did she get the gun? What was going through her mind? They said it happened back in February. So they've been investigating this whole time, and she wasn't a prime, well, not a prime suspect. I'm assuming that eventually she was a suspect. But that is crazy. Now I'm gonna follow the story, see if they come up. If she talks about a motive. That's the main thing I want to know about, is why. Why did she do it? Did she have any help? But if someone's caught, will we really know the reason why she did it? Or would she make an excuse? Because the easiest thing to say, and I hate to say this, I truly hate to say this, but the easiest thing she can say is that she was assaulted. And all they can do is investigate to find out if that claim was real. But it's tragic situation all around. Tragic situation all around. Jesus. There's so much stuff happening in the world that we have to talk about. We have to review the world together. Jesus, it makes me sad to say it. But now we're going to pivot some. This is more lighthearted. So now we're going to be looking at this dude I watch, Anton Daniels. He's reviewing a video. But the main thing is for this video is men. So ladies out there, you have to be careful about how a man handles rejection. A real man, if he gets rejected, will, hey, that's it. It's over with. There's no more need to talk about it. It's all right. You rejected. We don't want to talk. All right, that's fine. You walk away. You go about it. Go about your day. But there are some men out there who will do crazy things because of rejection. You will hit a woman, throw stuff on a woman, but I never understood this. There are so many women in the world, so many people in the world. Why are you reacting crazily? Is that a word? Why are you taking a drastic making a drastic reaction because of rejection? Because of rejection. But let's jump into this and short little video. But I'll put a link to his video in the comments. But it's absolutely crazy. So, but let's watch this.
My name is John. I couldn't help but notice over there. So like, I came over here and say, "What's up?"
Hi.
Come over though.
No, I don't give a. I can give you my Instagram.
Nah, I don't do all that social media shit. Like,
Well, I don't give out my number. I don't. I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm really not.
You see what he said? Hold on, let's back that up. He said, you already know if a man says this, you need to be prepared to exit this situation, ladies. You have to be prepared for that.
I know. I'm sorry.
Listen. Why are you trying to be funny? Yes, exactly. With all these fish in the sea. Jesus. Why are you trying to be funny? That is crazy. Let's keep going.
I'm not. I'm really not. Holy shit. What the fuck is crazy?
Let's back it up a tad bit.
I'm sorry. I'm not.
Why are you trying to be
funny? Holy shit.
Throw water.
What the fuck is crazy?
Now, let me say this before we hear what Anton has to say, but she's lucky. This could have been worse. It's just a bottle of water or whatever he threw on her. Yeah, well, yeah, hopefully it's just a bottle of water. You never know what crazy people will do these days, but you have to be careful, ladies. You have to be careful because what if it wasn't a bottle of water? He threw a glass bottle at you. He swung at you. You have to be prepared to protect yourself, ladies. Or if you can't protect yourself, run away. Run away. It makes me sick to think that men would handle rejection like this. What happened to handling your emotions? What happened to being a bigger man? Like Ashley said, there are too many fish in the sea to be over here crashing out. Yes, this was a crash out. He is a crash out. Because a woman just won't give you a number. Won't give you a number. And if you really had the juice, let's be honest, if you really had the juice, you would have took her Instagram and still ended up getting her number later. Let's be honest. If you had the juice, you would have took her Instagram, sent her a DM later, and easily been able to actually talk to her. But no. Some people just don't know how to talk to women. So that's obvious. Some people don't know how to take rejection. That is obvious as well. But let's see what Anton had to say. He already know he's about to say something crazy or say something. He's going to probably say the same. But I know Anton. Let's go.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up. It's hard for me to defend bad behavior like this, guys. It really is. And there's too many instances, and now that the cameras are starting to record, there's too many instances of women that is going through this. And it's weird because he didn't even see what the woman looked like under the helmet, you know?
He never even saw the girl under the helmet. That is crazy. That is crazy. Maybe he did. I don't know. All we saw was the video. So she might have took her helmet off. But I don't know. Let's keep going.
You just walked up. You had the water already. You asked a chick for her number. She don't even know you. I thought that giving out the IG and just exchanging IGs was a normalcy. I thought that.
What did I say? If you really had the juice, if you really was that guy, if you really was that man, you would have took her IG and then been able to get her number later.
That was normal for even guys to do. When you meet somebody, because you don't know them and you don't want them to have your personal number and stuff like that, I'm assuming that this is what most people do. And even on some networking type of stuff, like I don't give out my number on no networking type of stuff. If I'm out and about and I'm kicking it with people, I do all of my business specifically. And the only people that have my number is either people that I'm kicking it with on a coaching call, people that I've known for an extended period of time, or people that I had a conversation with outside of social media once we started looking at things from a business perspective, or we just got really, really cool and stuff like that. So I thought that it was normal.
Yes. You should not give out your number when you first meet someone because you don't know how people react. So that's the safest way to judge if this person is even is even good to talk to. Is you start out on Instagram or you start on Facebook, any kind of social media is like a form. Well, sometimes, because some people post too much and post things that it's easier to find you because you're posting on social media. But it's wild. It's very wild.
For people to exchange information as far as Instagram, because it's a safer barrier to not have somebody personally having your phone number. But then what I'm hearing from women a lot of times is that they'll actually give out their real phone number. And they're not giving out their real phone number because they're actually interested in the person. They're giving out their real phone number because they scared or they're afraid that if they don't give the person a number, then it could turn into some shit like this.
Why does I don't understand what you mean. Most people, if it goes to the wrong number, it's over with. They're not going to try different variations of it. But ladies, are y'all really scared? Will y'all really give out your number just because y'all scared? The real number and not fake number? What happened to fake numbers? I swear it used to be that women would give you a fake number because they didn't want to talk to you. But now women are so scared that they'll give you a real number. Ladies, protect yourself. That's all I can say. Protect yourself, ladies.
So worse, right? And so some people will ask and say, well, why do they actually give out the real phone number? Because some dudes are so stupid and crazy and they messing up the game for everybody that they'll actually call the person right. Person was to actually give a false number or a bad phone, then the dudes can probably or possibly turn into monsters. And I'm not an advocate for this, right? I'm an equal accountability smoke giver and holder. And just because I'm an advocate for men's rights don't mean that I'm an advocate for people being assaulted. And this is assault, in my opinion. This is clearly assault. In the same way that you can't spit on nobody, you can't throw no unidentified liquid on somebody. Of course, there's going to be some suckers in the chat that sit there and say, oh, it's just water or some dumb shit like that. No, man, you can't do that. You got to keep your hands to yourself. Now, if she'd have pulled out a pistol and put a couple hot ones in them, then we would all be sitting there, well, not me in particular, but then people be sitting there talking about, oh, it's unjustified. You know what I'm saying? She didn't feel threatened and all of this.
Now, I don't know about... Main thing with pulling out is, see, with anything, the reaction needs to be appropriate to what happened. I don't think that, well, I don't know. That's crazy. If you get water thrown on you, then she pulls out a gun and shoots you. Well, I first of all, the guy's an idiot and a lame for even throwing water on a woman who rejects him in the first place. Now, is it right for her to come out and shoot him after throwing water on him? I don't think so. Now that all depends on if she felt that he would do something more. Now, if he threw water on her and she felt like that he was going to attack her, then yes, absolutely 100%, the girl should pull out her gun and protect herself. Now, if he throws water on her and he's just starting to walk away and she pulls out her gun and starts shooting him, then that's a problem. At least to me. At least that's to me. Now tell me what your thoughts are. Is that reasonable? That is reasonable to me. Now, if she felt like her life was threatened, like I said, if he felt like she was gonna get attacked, yes, use the weapon. But if he throws water on you and walks away, I don't think you should have shot him. Was he a stupid person? Was he an idiot? Was he a lame? Yes, of course. Should he be held accountable and arrested for assault? Yes. But I don't think you should have shot him. But hey, tell me your thoughts.
This stuff. But we seriously, bro, we got to stop this shit. We got to stop this. When you see a dude in less than 30 seconds walk up behind a chick, it was already a little bit sketchy of him walking up behind a chick. But walking up behind a chick and throwing water, hopefully, maybe it was water. I'm assuming that it was water. We got to assume that it was water, right? But throwing water on a chick just because she's not interested in talking to you, now niggas need to learn how to have rejection. They need to know how to take rejection. We was talking on After Hours, and I was explaining to people what it was like growing up, being born in the 80s and growing up in the 90s. And I was talking to Mika and Kim and all of them. And we went from movies to we actually went to the fact that we didn't have social media. And you not having social media, at least in Detroit, and I'm not sure how it was in other places, you would kind of have a pen ready at all times. You would have something to write on at all times because you had to literally go up to a girl.
Exactly. Now I grew up I was born in 97, so I grew up in the earlier 2000s. We had some cell phones, but we can't talk like that. So the majority of the conversations was it wasn't no texting, no social media like that. It was mostly just talking on the phone, a little bit of texting, but the majority of the time we're just interacting with people in person. And you had to be prepared for rejection. There was time, I remember we would go to the mall. This is when we was younger. Be at the mall every single day. Well, no, not every day. Every single weekend, we are at the mall. Young kids. Well, how old were we? We were teenagers at the mall because we could walk to the mall because we was close by, and we would just be trying to talk to girls. I mean, it's a normal thing. You're talking to girls, and you would get rejected. So you know what you did? All right, thank you for the conversation, and go and try to talk to another girl. It wasn't, what you mean you ain't gonna talk to me? Nah, no, there's no way. What you mean? Nah, that's crazy. But that is absolutely wild. Now tell me your thoughts. Have you been in any situations where you felt like women especially, have you felt like the man would have crashed out because you rejected him? Are there times where you gave out fake numbers? I'm assuming there is fake numbers. Or are you just rather just give them your Instagram or your I don't know if people, I'm a big Facebook person, but Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, give that to them rather. It's a crazy world, but let's watch a little bit more of this.
And this wasn't a thing. Like, it was unheard of chicks getting called out of their name or getting stuff thrown on them just because they didn't want to talk to a dude. You just had to take rejection, and rejection was much more difficult.
You just had to take it on the chest. There's no way.
Back then, because most of the time you had your homies with you and you would have to go up to a chick, and some of the times, more often than not, she would actually have her homegirls in front of her. And you just had to drum up a rejecting like she didn't say anything.
Yeah, she didn't. All she said was, I don't give out my number, which is reasonable. That is very reasonable. All she said was, I don't give out my number, but I'll give you my Instagram. But like I said before, he ain't got the juice to where he would have took the Instagram and just been able to talk to her and work up a conversation. But that is wild. I can't understand people sometimes these days. Men can't handle rejection and will hit a woman because he rejected her or assault her. That is absolutely wild to me. Absolutely wild to me. Can't handle rejection. But that is crazy. Like I said, leave in the comments. So just give me some stories. People want to hear about stories of what happened to you. What happened to a men going crazy? Or is just your best method for rejecting a guy? Would you rather give him a fake phone number? Would you rather give him your Instagram instead of phone number? Or would you just straight out say, nah, I don't want to talk to you? But at the end of the day, ladies, you have to be careful. You have to be careful of what a man will do. And it's sad to say, but you have to. Because some men are crazy. Some men will do some terrible things because they feel like their feelings or their pride was hurt. But that is absolutely wild. Now, we're go into, I got a few more things to talk about. 3 more topics. So the next topic we're going to talk about is a small plane crash happened in New Jersey that we've been hearing. I haven't heard much about plane crashes lately, except for stuff that was happening when you had just some of the plane crashes that happened when Donald Trump first got elected, and people started saying bringing politics into everything. But let's jump right into that and see what this is talking about.
Right now, let's get back out right now to this another breaking news event out of New Jersey. They're calling it a potential mass casualty incident of a small plane crash in the Williamsport area in New Jersey. You can see a live picture right now, emergency vehicles on hand, and very preliminary information. As you can see, the runway there, this appears to be just off the end, as according to reports, a small aircraft has crashed on Wednesday around 5:30 in the evening. Gloucester County Emergency Management says multiple agencies are assisting at the Cross Keys Airport in Monroe Township. There is no confirmation on how many people were inside the plane or the severity of potential injuries. You can see 2, 3, 4 fire engines on hand, EMS, police as well. So very limited information. I don't know if this plane was landing, if this plane was taking off. So unsure of that, but the nature of the airport, the nature of the planes that land at a small airport just south of Philadelphia indicates it was not a big plane, so it couldn't hold a ton of people, but you can see them with gators out, potential injuries. So viewer discretion is advised here, watching this unfold in real time. As this was posted on social media from the emergency management crew talking about this, talking about a multi-agency mass casualty incident at the Cross Keys Airport, a downed aircraft. Please avoid the area to allow emergency vehicles the best access. So that posted on Facebook, courtesy of their emergency management there in the New Jersey area. Just south of Philadelphia, if you're familiar with the area. So they call it a mass casualty incident, and that could be multiple people injured. It does not necessarily indicate that people were killed, but that also could be the case. Not exactly sure what's going on here with this, but a story that we're going to follow into the evening hours.
Now that is crazy. Now let me see if I can. I already know we got to do some more research on it to see if anything else pops up. So let's do some quick searches. That's the main thing. Always do your research, everybody. Look at, let's see, bow. Go right into that. Okay, yep. So let me show my screen to y'all so we gotta look at some articles now. So emergency management said that multiple agencies are assisting 5 people who were injured were expected to be transported to Cooper University Hospital. The airport services mostly private. Okay, the airport services mostly private passenger planes. Okay, so it was only 5, it sounds like 5 people on the plane. Is that it? See, people, please, they don't have that. They don't never have too much information about stuff. Let's look. Come on, let's find some more stuff. Is there anything else that we can find about this? Guy's crazy. Now, do you think that smaller planes are more safe than the larger ones? I would think that the smaller airplane. Yes, I was scared. This was when I was going to Las Vegas. Las Vegas the first time. It was wild. It was a scary feeling being on that plane. But let's see if we can find if there's anything else. If not, see if there's anything else that pops up about it. But just a small little incident. Okay, so just one. Let's see this video right here.
We want to go back to our breaking news story now from Gloucester County, New Jersey, where Chopper 6 is once again over that single-engine plane crash at the Cross Keys Airport in Williamstown, Gloucester County, New Jersey. And as you can see, emergency officials are still on the scene attending to the wounded. We're told there are multiple injuries. We're also learning that there were 14 people on board the aircraft when it crashed.
Yep. Heard that. 14 people on board. So Ashley, yeah, you don't like the express or small planes. I can understand that. I feel like there's more. What I've heard is there's more turbulence on the smaller planes as opposed to the bigger ones.
Did multiple injuries. 14 people were on board that aircraft. Not sure, again, where it was heading to or coming from, but we are following this news story as we look live from Chopper 6. So many emergency vehicles at the scene, and that may be one of the medevacs at the scene, tending to the wounded, rushing people to Cooper Hospital. We're continuing to follow this news story, a single-engine plane crash at the Cross Keys Airport in Williamstown, Gloucester County, and we'll bring you more information as it becomes.
Everybody, that is crazy. Jesus. Now, when I think about this, because I've done a lot of work at airports, just designing the taxiways and then doing their drainage plans. But that is absolutely crazy. I've been at these small airports and seen these small planes, and I've just never gotten on one. That is crazy. But that is it for that video right there. It sounds like no one was died, so that is always a plus. We love to hear that there's been no deadly casualties. There's injuries, of course, that had to be medevaced. Now, let's. I want to say something. Medevaced. I've heard that when you get medevaced out of somewhere with the helicopter, those helicopter planes I said helicopter planes. Those helicopters, the helicopter rides, be like 40 bands, $40,000, $30,000, something crazy like that. And then there was a topic. This was just getting a little off topic, but there was a topic like, if you pass out and then you are, without your knowledge, medevaced to the hospital, you won't have to pay that money because you never gave them consent to medevac you. But $30,000 for a helicopter ride just sounds crazy to me. Now, you know, hospitals love to mark stuff up, but that is absolutely wild. But that is it for that video. We'll see if there's any more updates on anything, of course. So I'll do some more research to see if there's anything updated on that. But that is wild. Now, the next thing we're going to get into, we're almost done, y'all. We're almost done. I know we got work in a little while, so we're going to finish this up. We got 2 more topics to go. But police busted. So this is in Texas. A lot of things are happening in Texas nowadays. Police busted a $1.5 million car theft ring. So let's jump right into that. That is absolutely wild. $1.5 million worth of cars in this theft ring. So let's jump right into that.
New video is emerging tonight of a SWAT team busting a theft ring that swiped luxury vehicles from North Texas valet stands. Police say the 3 suspects.
See that? I hate to say it. That's a smart way. It's awful, but that is awful.
Managed to snag more than one.
See, Ashley, you funny. You're right. Yes, you got. Just pass out. There's no way. I'm not paying that $30,000. But let's keep going.
$500,000 million in high-end cars. Fox 4's Amelia Jones live to take us through this investigation. Amelia.
Steve, police say the suspects in the theft ring stole luxury cars from Plano, Dallas, and Grapevine. One of the suspects turned out to be the link that connected multiple agencies and connected the dots that turned into an arrest of 3 people involved. On June 6th, Plano police say a Rolls-Royce was reported stolen from the west side of town. The car was valeted, and somehow the suspects got the keys and drove off with it.
And that vehicle alone is worth $500,000.
After looking at local...
$500,000? Now, I ain't made it yet, of course, but I can't say of course, but I ain't made it yet to where I'm a $500,000 car. I can't. I can't see me buying a $500,000 car. $500,000? I don't even like car payments. There's no way. And then cars depreciate as soon as you drive them off the lot. That's crazy. Yeah, you got to be rich. There ain't no way. There's no way. Unless you, I don't even think you can. Can you even? Well, you might can. If you lease it, you might can write that off. You can write that off if you have a business for like the company car. But Jesus.
They could only see part of a suspect vehicle, a white Mercedes. Investigators with the Texas Department of Public Safety reached out to Plano investigators for help with a case involving the same white Mercedes and a suspect that both departments were familiar with.
We really piggybacked off of Texas Department of Public Safety and Dallas Police Department because they were actively working this along with an FBI task force.
On June 11th, Plano investigators, along with Texas DPS and the FBI, were on scene when Dallas SWAT officers executed a search warrant for 2 homes on Alto Garden in South Dallas. 6 high-end luxury cars were recovered, including the white Mercedes and the Rolls-Royce stolen from Plano. The other vehicles were reported stolen from Dallas, and at least one.
Oh, y'all see that? See the guns in the? Yeah. These some criminals. Criminals.
And from Grapevine.
I think all the plates were taken off. So we checked the vehicle identification numbers, and then they showed up on NCIC and TCIC as stolen vehicles.
Plano police believe the suspects were likely creating their own paper tags. A new law banning paper tags on newly sold vehicles took effect Tuesday, in part over concerns about criminals using them. 3 people were arrested in connection with the theft ring: Miguel Angel Hernandez, Salvador Hernandez Jr., and Oscar Ivan Valdez.
I don't want to. All Hispanic?
Garcia.
Just good collaboration between all the agencies involved.
And all of the cars are back with their rightful owners. I can imagine the owners are very grateful.
So are the insurance companies. Yes, ma'am.
Insurance companies don't want to pay
unclear
anything now. Y'all know the insurance companies don't want to pay. They happy.
What the 3 planned to do with the cars. Right now, we don't have any information about the circumstances surrounding the cars stolen out of Dallas and Grapevine. All 3 face first-degree felony charges of theft greater than $300,000. Valdez Garcia had 15 active warrants, and he remains in custody at the Collin County Jail with
15 active warrants. Yeah, they need to be up out of here. There's no way. Y'all know I'm a law-abiding citizen. Only thing I usually do is I'll speed a little bit when I'm on the car, which and most of the time I'm just following the flow of traffic, but that's the only thing I'll do. But yeah, 15 active warrants. Yeah, get him up out of here. There's no way. Now, they mentioned that they changed the law recently to remove the paper tags. Remove the paper tag. And that's crazy to think about because I remember, I'm going to give y'all a little play. Well, when I was in my younger days of college, I knew people that I heard about people doing what they would do is with the paper tags is all you would do is you'll take out the paper tags you get from the dealership when you buy a new car or buy a car, used car, whatever you do, and you got some time to get your official tags. They would just go in and change the date every single time it's about to go up, and most police stop them because there's just most new cars have that. So that's crazy. I understand why they're getting rid of the paper tags. I wonder what they do then from the people, or do they all automatically have to have a license plate when they first get the car? That is absolute crazy. Yes. Yes. At the end of the day, we're glad that everything was recovered because if someone took my $500,000 car, I'm gonna be well. You gotta think if you got a $500,000 car, you got insurance, so I wouldn't think that you would be too out of luck. You still upset, but at the end of the day, your insurance is covering it. You don't have to worry about it. Yes, it's frustrating dealing with that, but if you got a $500,000 car, I don't think you're too worried about it getting stolen. Yes, it's a hassle to go through all that stuff and everything, but Jesus, but still, $1.5 million worth of cars is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. But yes, they were caught. I'm glad they were caught. Everybody was recovered. Just people love to do crime. And people don't like this crime pays. People don't like this crime pays, it seems like. But at the end of the day, you're going to get caught. That's why I'd rather just stick to my normal job. Man, you just go to school, kids. Go to school. Go to school for a good degree. Don't go to school for nothing crazy, but go to school for a good degree. Something, engineering, doctoring, medical, something. Don't go for something like, I don't know, something crazy. I remember going to college and someone talked about they was going to a physics. They was going through physics, and physics didn't really do. We ended up having a physics mate. He graduated college for physics and ended up coming back like a year or two later and going to get his engineering degree because he wasn't able to hardly make any money being a physics degree. So just make sure you go into a good degree. But that is crazy. Absolutely wild. Now the last thing we're going to have a discussion. Same dude we looked at earlier, Anton Daniels. So he had a discussion on his After Hours channel, which I thought that I would want to talk about. That it sounded pretty interesting to me. So the main thing it's talking about is some men saying, if I was single, yes, get it honestly. Yes, she Ashley knows. Gotta get it honest. Yeah. Now, the topic of this discussion was basically, would a man make more money if he was single rather than if he was married or I'm assuming married, but had a partner? Now that's interesting. I would like to believe that when I have a wife, when I eventually get a wife, because I want to be married, of course, but think that my wife would play a role in helping me grow even greater than I already am. But some people say that if they just didn't have it and didn't have to worry about it, they could grow even more without them. So let's see what their conversation was talking about and see what some of these people on the channel. So you got Slimmy and all these other people. If you watch Anton, so if, like I said, I'm gonna leave a link to his channel in the description. He's a good dude to watch. Said some crazy things, but hey, he talks a lot of serious conversations. But let's get right into it.
Much different, and then we're gonna go into the show. How much different do y'all think that a man's life will be if he didn't really have women in it?
Well, it depends, because some dudes will crash out and go freaking shoot up this local high school and didn't have no women. So that's
maybe not. Let me revise that, because I don't want to say have no women, but just completely remove the idea of ever focusing on a woman. Never get married, never having kids, never, just 100% being able to just focus on 100% of whatever it is that you want to do.
I'll give it a number, like 20% more money in the bank. Whatever
you said, 20% more money in the bank?
Of whatever you got, 20% more.
It's a double-edged sword, because I know I'll be astronomically more great, but at the same time, like, what would I have motivation for? Like, because women really be the motivation behind you getting a lot of money sometimes, most of the time. So I don't know, like, sometimes like the motivation lacks when a woman not in the equation. So, but I know I'll be greater without one, but for how long?
What do you mean for how long?
Because, like,
it doesn't mean that you can't get boxed, but it just means that everything will probably maybe be more transactional, I guess.
Oh well, yeah, it'll be astronomical then. Like, it won't be.
I could say, as of today, specifically, I'd have like $150 more in my bank account.
150.
I didn't worry about women.
You bought some pussy today? Oh shit! Why such a specific number?
I bought some shit that was $150 for a bitch today. That's why
Now, he said one thing that Q Diddy. I see. I don't never understand why his nickname is Q Diddy, but it's crazy. But he said 20% more. He thinks that he would be if he didn't have to worry about a woman. I'm just thinking of a wife. They talking about just any kind of woman, but I'm not. That's not my type of thing. But 20% more money if you didn't have to. See, I just like to think that two people working towards a goal of, say, if your goal is to get an extravagant lifestyle or just have a good lifestyle, two people working towards that goal is always better than one. Yes, you're spending more money because you're together. You're gonna have to spend more on expenses and stuff like that. But I think it offsets with her help or with the woman or man. You can whatever you like to. I don't want to. Whoever your partner is, I think y'all two working towards the goal will get y'all to greater heights than you working towards the goal on your own. At least that's my thinking. Now tell me your thoughts. Do you think that if you're alone and single, you'll make more money than if you was together with a partner working towards a certain goal? Would you get it easier and make more if you're by yourself? Or would it be easier with a partner and you get it and make it even greater? I don't know. Now, like I said, my thoughts are that working with a partner, working with someone who I'm trying to build a life with and go to the next level, us working together is better than me working alone. Now, some men, like they said, they think that they'll be even richer. I think that coming from the point of expenses, yes, it's less expensive to be by yourself than being with a partner. That makes obvious sense to me as an engineer, as just looking at the numbers. Yes, that makes sense to me. But if you're I think working towards a goal with someone is better than being by yourself. Well, let's see. Two are better than one because they have a good reward for the. Yes, that's a great Bible quote. Yes. That. Look towards the Bible for answers. There you go. But let's keep going into this video. We're not gonna watch this whole thing because it's 30 minutes, but we'll see what everybody was thinking. So we like to get the main thing with these types of talks is getting everyone's perspective. You can't just look at your own perspective. You need to take in everybody else's opinions and thoughts. You don't have to change your own because of them, but you need to understand what they're thinking. And then see, maybe your thinking might change because you heard other people's opinions. But let's keep going into it.
Jeez, oh, man.
At $150.
Slimmy, what are your thoughts on that?
Shoot, man. I mean, I feel like when I'm not worried about a woman, that's when I get the most done. Like, it's most of the time when I get distracted is when I start deep diving into shit with women. Like, when I'm in my zone and I ain't thinking about none of that shit, that's when I get back into my creative bag. Everything just start flowing. Once you let a woman in that realm, though, man, that shit kind of fuck up the algorithm. Like,
man,
that shit fuck everything up. You just thrown all the way to fuck off. Like, that's why I kind of just try to stay on a certain path, because I know what happens once I deviate from that shit. You let other energy around you. You let too much energy around you, and that shit fucks up whatever you got going on. And I think that's why a lot of women be fucked up, because they be fucking with people that fuck their whole shit up that they're not even supposed to be dealing with. And then he's inside you, so that's 10 times crazier.
It's crazy because like I look at women like to a purposeful dude. I feel like I don't care what woman you are, like you in somewhat you are an anchor. Like this dude could be running faster, but like he has to explain stuff to you.
Facts.
And that's like very hindering. Like Barack Obama. Like he had to explain, like, no, seriously.
You're right. No, you're right. I'm feeling you.
He had to explain to Michelle why that's the first person he had to explain it to. And then you got to get your wife on board. It's kind of like she hoping you fail the whole time.
Yeah.
And
honestly, I don't like to think that helping you fail the whole time. Yes, you need to listening to her, heeding her advice, but it's let's keep going.
I think he was with the ops.
Yeah, no, that man, a lot of people, bro. Every time I hear a woman congratulate their man, they always say he didn't even listen to me and he being great. Like they were like, and there was times where he didn't listen to me. Like had he listened to her, like we wouldn't even be acknowledging this man right now. Every time I hear a woman award they man, they say, and he, he went against what I said and made it work. Like, so like the first person, the hardest person you got to prove shit to is your significant other, man, when you're in a relationship. And it's crazy.
Migo, how much different do you think that a woman's life, and again, I don't want y'all don't have to necessarily refer it back to y'all in particular, but just in general, right? How much different do you think that most women's lives would be if they wasn't so focused on men in particular?
On one hand, it would sound like fun, but then on the other hand, that means to have fun, we have to hang out with other women, and we don't really like that. So it's kind of 50-50. I think most women will probably say, oh, not having kids, but then you would get to a point where you would want them for the most part. So I think it's different. I think it's different for you guys because y'all like being go-getters. Like we like being around people. We like being around somebody. I think we'll be 50-50 because we don't like being alone all the time.
Kim, what do you think about that? Same question to you.
I agree with some of what Mika said. I think that because women are nurturers, we kind of want something to nurture, whether that's a relationship or children. But I've seen too many just that are completely destroyed by the men that they have in their lives. Mm-hmm. So you got to take that into account too.
That's a thing for both. I think if the wrong woman or the wrong man is in your life, yes, it will absolutely take you off of your purpose and ruin what you was trying to do. But at the same point, I think if you find the right woman or right man who to be in your life, you'll be able to thrive even greater. At least that's my thinking. That's my thinking.
I mean, there's, the women who are beaten up, and so on and so forth. So I think that you have some that would be happier, but they wouldn't know it. And then others that would just be missing a part of who they were probably meant to be.
Carrie, thoughts?
I think that a lot of it also depends on what stage of the woman's life it is. I think that, which is why I agree with what Kim and Mika said. I think that there's a certain point in time where it will be like, this is great. This is fun. Like I'm doing what
I don't know.
Oh, we
I
back?
don't think women would be so
Back?
bitter if they
Okay,
kind of
there we go.
focused. I don't know.
Oh, we
I
back?
don't think women would be so
Back?
bitter if they
Okay,
kind of
there we go.
focused a little bit less on men, because a little bit less on men, because I think some women are so wrapped up into men and the idea of men or what they could be, and sometimes it makes us a little disillusioned when we
Got a little way. I think we back now. Streaming always trying to do something crazy, but let's keep going.
we don't get that fairy
Backing up
tale.
just a tad bit so we can.
Bitter. A lot of women are very, I don't know. I don't think women would be so bitter if they kind of focused a little bit less on men, because I think some women are so wrapped up into men and the idea of men, or wrapped up into men and the idea of men or what they could. And sometimes it makes us a little disillusioned when we don't get that fairy tale. And then I think that's when we get the feminists and the cat ladies. So I think women should kind of focus more so on themselves and hobbies and being productive. That's
All right.
honestly how I feel about it.
All right, let me
Now, we've gotten everybody. What?
flip the question now.
No, we gotten everybody's perspective. Like I'm saying, I think the main thing is there are times when the wrong person is in your life and it will ruin you. And there are times when the right person is in your life and it will ruin you. The main thing is finding that right person. Now, do I think that being single, you'll be able to thrive greater? I think, let me take a sip. Being single, yes, you will be able to sometimes. See, the question is hard to think about. If you're single and you're moving towards a goal, I will say it's easier because you only have to worry about your own perspective. You don't have to make sure that your partner is moving the same way and moving towards the same goal as you. But I think eventually that when everyone is on the same page, moving towards the same goal, it makes moving towards that goal easier, and it makes you be able to rise to greater heights because you also have someone who is in your corner. But also, yeah, tell me your thoughts. What are you thinking? It's a lot of things to think about, but I think that is it for the show. That is all the things I had to talk about. Now, please leave your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you're thinking about any of the topics we have. What are your thoughts on if you're single, and will you be able to thrive better without anyone as a partner? I don't know. I think that eventually, that if everyone is moving towards the same goal, it's better. But hey, it's almost time to get started for work. But thank you for watching, Ashley. All your great comments. Thank you for chiming in with some of the great things that you was that quote. Well, let me pull that quote back up. Two are better than one because they have the same reward for their labor. Yeah, they have a good reward for their labor. That is a great Bible quote. Thank you. But that is it for the show today. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. Everything's gonna be broken down into videos for everybody. So if you certain parts you want to rewatch, hey, go ahead. But it's time to end it out. You already know I gotta play the outro, but hey, everybody have a good rest of your day. If you're going to work, get to work, make that money. Don't let no one stop you, and get ready to enjoy the weekend. A safe weekend. Let's remember to keep everything that's been happening, keep them in our prayers, and just hey, let's enjoy the weekend and get ready for the next week of work. But that's it for everybody. Remember, this is AC the Engineer, and this is AC Reviews the World. Thank you, and peace.